Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Nadine and I am so excited for you guys to all be joining me here today. Okay guys, this is me wearing a Gryffindor inspired outfit. I'm just kidding, but I put it on and then I looked into the mirror and I was like, this is giving Gryffindor. Maybe this is just me in my nerd era, so. It's time for my February reading wrap up, where I will be sharing with you all the books that I read last month, all the highs, the lows. Gonna be spilling all the tea on what I think about the books. Plus I will be sharing my March TBR list, because let's be real, it's just getting longer and longer and I'm just trying to keep up at this point. If you're a book lover like me, then stick around, subscribe, and let's just dive right in. So February, it's the shortest month of the year and I still managed to read 11 books. I'm very proud of myself. So the first book that I read is City of Gods and Monsters by Kyla Edwards from the House of Devil series. There are 3 books out right now. They're all quite chunky. I think the 4th book is coming out this year, but it is a god tier series to so many for a reason. It is in a urban fantasy setting, which makes it kind of creepy. They've got werewolves, they've got vampires, there's different clans. It's a bit of a darker vibe. The book follows Lauren, who is human, and she escapes a kidnapping where they accidentally kidnap her best friend instead of her. She is trying to figure out who kidnapped her best friend and how to get her back. On the other hand, you have Darren Castle, our famous MMC, who is also just incredible. And he is a dark slayer. He has the ability of sight, which means he can track auras. He gets a job to track down Lauren and bring her to the people that tried to kidnap her. But he tracks her down and realizes she's human, and then decides to, instead of handing her over, to actually protect her and help her find her best friend, and also figure out a bunch of very strange missing people cases and murders within the city. This book is amazing. I absolutely loved it. It is a 6-star book for me. It is slow burn. We've got really cool magic. We've got demons, werewolves, vampires. There's an amazing aspect of found family in it as well. And yeah, I absolutely love that one. Next up, we've got The Bridge Kingdom by Danielle L. Jensen. This is a 4-book series, but it's 2 duologies within that series. The first book follows our FMC Lara. There is no magic in this book, but she is a trained warrior princess. She was trained in isolation with all her sisters somewhere in the middle of the desert, to then be married off to their enemy kingdom, try to infiltrate them and bring down that kingdom. She goes to the Bridge Kingdom, where she is marrying Aren, who is in charge of that kingdom. While she is there, she discovers a lot of truths that she wasn't aware of and has to make a very tough decision to either fight for her kingdom or fight for the kingdom she's married into. Lots of big decisions. This is a slow burn. This doesn't have a lot of spice in it, but it is a great book because it's just great tension. I just love the world building in this as well. It's very easy to follow. It's a short book. And then right after, I read The Traitor Queen, which is the 2nd book in it. I don't want to spoil or anything, but I just do think that these 2 books are 5-star reads for me. They're very easy to read, and it's great to pick up after a really long series if you're in a reading slump and you just want to have like a quick duo. Next up, we have Feathers So Vicious by Liv Zander. So this is the first book in the Court of Ravens duology. I was so excited to pick this book up because I really discovered my love for dark fantasy before these books. And this was just a book that was all over Book Talk. Everyone was talking about it. I started this book and that was a book that I just could not finish. It is an MFM, which means there's 2 main male characters and 1 woman. They're both cuckoo, obviously, because it's a dark fantasy romance, but just too crazy for me. I don't know, maybe I'm just not ready for it. Maybe I'll pick it up another time, but I wanted to love this, but it was not for me. But so yeah, I did not finish this. I read it like halfway and then I just had to stop it. Okay, next up we've got the Crimson Moth by Kristen Ciccarelli, and this is one of my favorite romantasy series ever. It's a duology, which I love a duology. This book is just such a feel-good book. Oh my god, I loved it so much. This book follows Rune, who is a witch, but no one knows she's a witch because after a devastating revolution, all the witches had to go in hiding because they've been hunted down. At night, she's got another identity as the Crimson Moth, where she is trying to save witches. People are kind of catching on to the Crimson Moth, so to throw them off their scent, she decides to seduce and get information from the #1 witch hunter in the realm, Gideon Sharp. And it is a cat and mouse game, and it is tension, it is slow burn, and it is forbidden in every kind of way. It is so good, and just when you think you figure it out, you haven't. So this book was just amazing. I absolutely loved it, and you just really feel for Rune, wanting to just, you know, trying to be her true self, but then also knowing that she has other identity, and also Gideon being suspicious but not sure if she's the one that he is supposed to bring down. So this book was absolutely incredible, 5 stars all the way. That brings us to The Rebel Witch. I mean, aside from this book just being absolutely stunning, I was so lucky because I read The Crimson Moth a day before this book was released. It's a duology and I needed to know what happened, so both books are also on Kindle Unlimited, which is great because I actually love to read books on Kindle Unlimited. I like to buy them because I love to have the physical book, but I like to read them on the Kindle just because I can highlight stuff, and then at the end of the book I can look at all the things that I've highlighted. The Rebel Witch is, like I said, it's the follow-up from The Crimson Moth. It's always hard when you do a book review where you don't want to spoiler the second book, so I'm not gonna tell you a lot, but I'm just gonna tell you that there's a lot of development happening. The witches are about to come back big time, and there's going to be a lot of tough decisions to be made. Until the end, you cannot figure out if Gideon will choose her over his duty and if she will choose him over her, the witches. That's what makes it such a beautiful, slow burn and like massive tension romantasy. I absolutely love this as well. Like I said, one of my favorite series of all time. Not even a question. 5 stars all. Next up, we've got another big standalone chunky book that I was also so excited to read, which is Fairydale by Veronica Lancet. So this book was all over TikTok. It's a dark fantasy. There are a lot of elements of horror and gothic. You know, I really wanted to love this book. I loved it until probably 80% in. It just got too much for me. And just as a whole, I'd probably give it like 3.5 stars. This book follows our FMC Darcy. It is also a book that has 3 different time periods that you read it in, which is quite interesting, very unusual to what I've read before. Her biological father dies. She's never met him, but she has to go to Fairydale for his funeral and to get inheritance, and she goes, no idea what to expect, enters the town of Fairydale, and things are getting weird. There's a lot of families in that town, there's a lot of like politics going on, and she meets Caleb, who is part of the Hale family, and he is weird. I mean, you like him, you're confused, it's like there's so much happening, but the biggest issue is that she has dreams where she comes across someone called Eamon, and those dreams feel so real that she falls in love with Eamon, but she also falls in love with Caleb, and that brings her to a lot of conflicting thoughts. It's a really cool concept, and I really love the world building in it. I thought it was super interesting. I think the switching of different time zones, like future, present, past, whatever it is, like I don't think it needed to be over all these different periods, but it was a really unique book. So I would not recommend this book. I just think it's definitely intense. You have to check your trigger warnings, 100% check your trigger warnings. And yeah, if you want to read a standalone, it's a chunk that has you in for a ride. Like I said, I would probably give it 3.5 stars just because I wanted to love it so much more than I did. We have Caraval by Stephanie Garber. This is a very unique series. I mean, the book's also stunning. Sorry, I have to point that out. Caraval is a performance that happens only once a year that you have to get invited to, where the audience participates in the show. You enter it and suddenly you don't know what is real and what is not real, and there's clues and you have to figure it out. It's a kind of like a game that you have to win at the end of it. This book follows Scarlett, who's been wanting to go to Caraval for her whole life. So she's been writing all the letters to someone called Legend, who is the one that started this game, who invented the game. He's the game master. She's been writing him for years, trying to get invited. No one knows who he really is. No one knows his real identity. But when she's just about to give up and her father sets her up for an arranged marriage that just make you feel like she'll never enter the Caraval, she gets a response from Legend and she gets invited to Caraval. Because of her arranged marriage though, she thinks she can't go, so she ends up being kidnapped by her sister and a very young sailor because they don't want her to miss out on this opportunity. When she gets to Caraval though, she loses her sister and is desperately trying to find her within that game. It is such a cool book. It's such a cool magic system. The whole time, everything you think is real is not real, and everything you think isn't real is real. It's confusing, but like in the best way. The concept is so cool. I absolutely loved it. The fan art of this book is incredible. This was a 5-star rate for me. I really liked it. Having said that though, book number 2, which is called Legendary, which is also so beautiful, just wasn't the same as the first book to me. I picked up this series because I really wanted to read Once Upon a Broken Heart, which is another series that is kind of a sequel, and a lot of people say that you have to read the Caraval series to understand or enjoy Once Upon a Broken Heart better. I've been struggling though. I picked up Legendary and it was just not the same. It felt a bit slower to me and I just couldn't get into it as much as I did at Caraval. Having said that though, I'd probably still give it 3.5 stars because it is part of a series and there's another book left that's called The Finale that I really want to read, and that might change my mind. So like I said, loved Caraval. The second book, maybe not so much, but it is still a really cool concept and a very different magic system in it. My TBR is busy and my TBR is long, and it is getting longer. First off, something that I really desperately want to read, the Plated Prisoner series. It's finally completed, which is great timing because I pick up so many series that are incomplete and then I just have to wait until the next book comes out. And so what I was told about this book is that you have to push through the first one and then it just gets amazing. The MMC in these books, I mean, he is a lot of people's favorite book boyfriend, so I obviously have to meet him. Slade. This book has phase in it, and apparently it is about a girl who everything she touches turns into gold, like quite literally apparently, and she's being kept in a cage. We've got Phase. Apparently it's a bit more of a dark fantasy romance. So that is the first series on my TBR. Next up, we've got the Lady of Darkness series. This is also a dark fantasy series. I don't think, is it completed yet? I think it might be completed. I need to check. This has been recommended to me by so many people. And apparently it is very similar to Throne of Glass, which I am very excited about because I absolutely loved Throne of Glass. I already started the first book in the series, so far so good. Okay, so I've got a lot to do for March, obviously, and I probably should get started as soon as I can. Let me know if you've read any of my February reads or if you have read any of my TBR list books, because I would love to know what you guys think. Also, my TBR, is there anything I need to know about the books that I'm reading? Anything you can recommend? If you've read the Plated Prisoner series, I would love to know what you guys thought, because I've heard so many different opinions about it. But I am super excited, and sorry guys, I've got to go because I have to start reading these books because March is gonna fly by. If you liked today's episode and if you guys feel like you have similar book taste to me, so far so good. Obviously I'm gonna do a lot more book reviews because I've read so many other books that I think are amazing that deserve their own episode. I can't wait to see you guys next time again. Thank you for watching.